Greetings, my name is Darren. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We are now at the fourth and final part of my basic introduction to opera. Opera is a type of drama set to music. Its major lines are sung instead of being spoken. Operas and musicals are alike in some ways, but the most important difference is that operas contain stronger and heavier emotional and dramatic content. During the previous three parts, I presented the kinds of experience that can be obtained from opera. During the first part, I presented the kind of experience all operas absolutely must have in order to survive: intensity. During the second and third part, I presented the other kinds of experience in opera which some operas can do without, but greatly boost others in terms of their odds of survival. These kinds of experience were what I called the booster elements in opera. There are three categories of these booster elements. The first category is dramatic boosters, which I presented during the second part. The second category is vocal boosters, which I presented during the third part. The third and last category is the flavor boosters, which I'll be presenting for this fourth and final part. I admit that for a beginner, opera can be a lot to take in at once, especially so when the only musical drama you've known until now is the musical. If you're still having second thoughts about venturing into the operatic world because you're concerned that it might be too intellectual, too dramatic, and or too ancient to your taste, fear not, because I've got just the thing for you. This thing is a genre of musical drama known as operetta or light opera. Operetta is actually a genre of its own, but opera houses at present do stage a few of these works. In the popular awareness, operetta ends up being subsumed under opera. What is operetta then? Think of operetta as a musical where instead of music which sounds like the music in today's movies, you have music that belongs to the ballroom. In operetta, you have got musical numbers with foxtrots, tangos, polkas, waltzes, and more. The later ones from the early 20th century are like the movie musicals from the golden age of Hollywood. Operetta was once a genre which was performed by singing actors. However, nowadays singing has evolved so much that only artists who've received classical vocal training or learned to sing opera can perform the genre today. Hence, operetta is a good introduction for people to acclimatize themselves to the practices in the operatic world in a setting where they can find at least a few things they recognize. Another reason is because operetta has a lot of catchy tunes. Unlike the music in operas, which is more for dramatic expression, the music for operettas is more for pleasing the audiences. After all, operetta was a form of popular entertainment in its day, the period from the mid-19th century to the early 20th century in France, Germany, and Austria. What I call flavor boosters are the elements which render operetta pleasing to its audiences. There are two flavor boosters. One, charm, the defining element of German and Austrian operetta, as well as two, froth, the defining element of French operetta. Interestingly, these boosters are not limited to operetta only, as we shall hear shortly. The first flavor booster I'm presenting is charm. Charm is the power of the music to give you a sense of comfort. When I listen to the masterpieces endowed with charm, they light up a fireplace in my heart which radiates a homely warmth throughout. Good music speaks to the heart, but charming singing goes further. When I hear charming singing, it has a sincerity that makes me feel that the singer seeks to establish an intimate connection between me and their character through the music. Let me use German and Austrian operetta as an example. In most of their works, there are two couples. One couple is a comic set of lovers, and the other is a serious set of lovers. Usually, the comic lovers are given music that's more spirited. When I listen to it, I feel that their characters are actively roping me in to join them in their fun. The serious lovers are given music that's more sentimental. When I listen to it, I feel that their characters want me to share in their private moments, both happy and sad, as well as take me into their confidence, fully opening their hearts to me. Both couples make me think they really want me to be their friend, endearing themselves to me. The ensembles are like party scenes in the company of people I'm truly glad to be with. The comic lovers let me in on the games they play on one another in good-natured fun. The serious lovers give me a front row seat in the courtship ritual they play out. It cheers me up when these four good friends ultimately get together. To share with you some of the delight of this genre, I'll be using an excerpt from Johann Strauss the Younger's Die Fledermaus. This excerpt is a duet, the high point of this operetta. The man singing this duet is Gabriel von Eisenstein. Eisenstein had been charged for abusing a police officer and sentenced to 8 days in jail. He was supposed to begin his sentence on the day the operetta was set in, but he chose to skip jail and attend a party first. Eisenstein had been told that there will be many sexy women at the party for him to have a fling with. Eisenstein deceived his wife by pretending to leave home for the jail. At the party, Eisenstein met an attractive Hungarian countess wearing a mask. He hoped to make her his latest conquest at the party. The duet we'll be listening to is a courtship game Eisenstein's playing with the countess. Eisenstein opens the duet by singing how attracted he is to the countess and expresses his hopes that he can lay his hands on her. The countess sings how annoyed she is with Eisenstein's behavior and expresses her hopes that she can teach him a lesson he'll never forget. Eisenstein tries to unmask the countess, but she brushes aside his attempt.
Dieser Anstand, so manierlich, diese Taille, fein und zierlich, und ein Füßchen, das mit Küssen wie ein Mann bedecken sollt, wenn sie's nur erlauben wollt.
Immer Lüste, bewege dich aufs Beste, denkt aufs Küssen, statt an Füßen, warte nur, du böse nicht. Du entgehst der Strafe nicht, du entgehst der Strafe nicht.
Ach, vielleicht könne es entschweben, wie soll es aber nicht, willst du nicht die Maske heben, wie dein Hansel ist mir verhüllt.
Nein, mein schönes Herr, ich bitte dich, nichts zerwegen, nichts berührt, denn täuscht die gute Sitte, dass man Masken respektiert.
Next, the countess ups her game by pretending to fall for Eisenstein. Eisenstein is fooled immediately. The countess encourages Eisenstein to close in on her with the watch he uses to bait women. Eisenstein needs little encouragement.
Ja, schon will ich dich lieben, das Herz so lang bewegt. Hey, das können wir gleich sehen. Zählen wir.
Eisenstein now uses his watch to time the countess' heartbeats. He's so excited he messes up.
2, 3, 4. Nein, das kann nicht sein, denn nach der 7 kommt erst die 8.
Seeing an opening, the countess suggests she be the timekeeper as Eisenstein counts her heartbeats instead. Eisenstein happily accepts. They start over.
Hexen, lieg!
Den Schlag des Herzens will sie, und ich noch Tick-Tack will ich nur. Ich spielt auf 5 Minuten nur. Jetzt zählen sie.
Bin schon dabei. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hopp, 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 hopp. Das geht in Galopp. 5, 6, 7, 8, 19, 11, 12. Hopp, 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 hopp. In Galopp, 6 und 9. ich weiter schon. Eine halbe Million. Eine halbe richtig zählen.
The Countess keeps Eisenstein's watch as a trophy. Eisenstein is in trouble now. She has evidence of him cheating. The charm of the duet we've just listened to is to see the skillful way the Countess turns the tables on Eisenstein in this playful little joke he was trying to pull on her. Eisenstein's troubles don't end with the Countess taking his watch. Towards the end of Die Fledermaus, Eisenstein will learn that the Countess was actually his wife in disguise. The whole operetta is basically a prank on him. A musical work about a man unknowingly seducing his own wife like Fledermaus will always be funny, but a stronger reason why it's popular today is its music. Wasn't the music of the duet something you could take directly to heart without much thought because it's so delightful in a light way? Besides, the music is so vivid, you can picture the humorous scene between Eisenstein and his wife just by hearing it through your headphones alone. Did you also sense the festive atmosphere in the music? The party in Fledermaus is a New Year's Eve party. With all these qualities, opera houses worldwide which normally don't perform operetta make an exception for Fledermaus to celebrate the holiday season. The second flavor booster I'm presenting is froth. Frothy operatic masterpieces are light, but their froth isn't the fluff that goes poof after a short while. It's the froth bubbling from champagne or the creamy foam welling from a melting pastry. The masterpieces are like champagne and or pastries. For a masterpiece like Champagne, the best example of its music is the can-can. Isn't the can-can as light and sparkling as champagne? The can-can many of us might have heard before is actually the music for an ensemble from a French operetta by Offenbach, Au fait ou Unfair. If you had enjoyed the can-can, there's plenty more of such music in Offenbach's operettas. It's not just the light and sparkling music which renders them comparable to champagne, but also the festive spirit these works contain. You can dance to much of their music. There are numbers with wild energetic music like the can-can and numbers with sweet graceful waltz-like music. Besides dancing, you can howl with laughter at the wicked amusements Offenbach lined up in his operettas. His musical jokes, as well as the comic situations he's designed, simply challenge you not to laugh at them. Offenbach isn't the only French operetta composer. There are others like Messager, but their masterpieces don't have Offenbach's outrageous humor, and they have few numbers with wild energetic music. They, and the subgenre of opera, which also has frothy music, early 19th century opera comique, are like melting pastries, just like how Offenbach is like champagne. Their music is as sweet and delicate as these pastries, which calls for graceful and refined singing. The music has rich flavors that send us into ecstasy when they set in. To let you experience a bit of this sensation, I'll give you an excerpt from Boieldieu's La Dame Blanche. This excerpt is from the entrance aria of the hero of this opera. Most of the time, arias or individual showpieces are songs for the characters strategically distributed throughout the opera for them to express their emotions about various events during the opera. An entrance aria is a different type of musical number. It's the operatic version of an icebreaker where the character, usually one of the main ones, will impress his or her personality on us. In the excerpt, the final part of the entrance aria, the hero, whose name is Georgie Brown, sings about the warm welcome he can expect to receive from his village when he returns home after fighting to protect them on the battlefield. This excerpt shows us his cheerfulness and sociability. Georgie Brown is a likable character, but where his appeal really lies is the frothiness of his music. The flavorful background music sends us into such ecstasy, we feel the urge to tap our feet to it. The singing of the tenor playing the role of Georgie Brown here Michel Sénéchal, is so light that you can feel his voice dancing to the orchestra. The sound he produces is so sweet that hearing it is the equivalent of feeding sugar into our ears. Let's not have a taste of that.
La paix, pris de son courage, le ramène dans les villages. Pour lui, quel spectacle nouveau! C'est un père, un ami, qui le presse et l'embrasse. Chacun se dit, c'est lui, c'est l'honneur du l'amour. On l'entoure, on l'embrasse, le voilà, c'est l'honneur du l'amour. Le vieillard même quand il passe, porte la main à son chapeau, porte la main à son chapeau. Oh, le bel état, oh, le bel état, oh, le bel état que celui de soldat. Quand la paix, pris de son courage, le ramène dans le village. Pour lui, quel spectacle nouveau! C'est un père, un ami, qui le presse et l'embrasse. Chacun se dit, c'est lui, c'est l'honneur du l'amour. Il s'en même est heureuse, il s'en même est heureuse. Te voilà, te voilà, te voilà, te voilà, te voilà, te voilà. Oh, c'est bien ça, oui, c'est bien ça.
When you listen to that excerpt, did you hear how Sénéchal's voice was so graceful and refined that he was making his voice dance like a ballerina? This refinement refers to the consistently smooth way the sentences came out of his mouth, even when the orchestra raised its tempo. It goes even further than simplicity, where the sentences are broken up during such moments. Today, there are still tenors with light voices producing sweet sounds. However, the tenor who could make his voice dance like a ballerina, the old-school French light tenor, is extinct. Sénéchal was the last of them. Even so, it's possible to enjoy the early 19th century opera comiques like La Dame Blanche, which we heard earlier, as well as the French operettas. Today's tenors are still able to bring out their best qualities, though not as effectively as Sénéchal's class of tenors, who are literally perfect for performing them. This is an especially good time when a number of early 19th century opera comiques like La Dame Blanche are occasionally being revived in France nowadays. La Dame Blanche is particularly noteworthy, not just because it hit more than 1,500 performances at the Opéra Comique alone in a century until its final run in 1926, but also because of its story. The opera has a sentimental story about a young girl who poses as a ghost, La Dame Blanche, or the White Lady in English, to safeguard the estate of his long-lost heir, who's none other than our friendly soldier, Georgie Brown. And now we arrive at the end of my introduction to the types of musical experiences on offer in the operatic world, the 9 elements of opera. I sincerely hope that you now have an idea of what opera really is. If not, at least you should have seen and heard for yourself what opera is like. All the scenes in these videos are from real-life opera performances, both on stage and on film. Wasn't there such a diversity of them, with or without audio? You don't need to be an intellectual and or musical and or vocal training and or to understand the languages to be able to tell. Unfortunately, countless people never realize all this. It's the sad truth that many people never have the opportunity to come into contact with opera. What's worse is that the majority of those within its reach need little persuasion to dismiss it outright. In the popular imagination, opera is more of a phantom than the Phantom of the Opera. These videos are for introducing the tours into the operatic world I'll be organizing and leading. Think of every segment, each of the 9 elements, as a tour package. Every segment will have a mini-series where I'll be introducing you to a different group of operatic masterpieces defined by the element being presented. For example, the comedy mini-series will be introducing operatic comedies. Each of the segments in these videos has a musical excerpt to give you a preview of the type of operatic masterpiece you'll be listening to if you choose to explore it. The bombardments of information in every segment are only there to tell you what you need to know to be able to enjoy the musical experience it offers. If you feel that this information is already too much for you to handle and fear that the miniseries might be beyond you because there will be many more times as much to remember, rest assured that the miniseries will be structured in such a way that all that information will naturally flow to you. All you really need to do is to pick the segment whose musical excerpt you enjoy most, come on board with me for that miniseries, and things will take care of themselves. If you want a reason to come on board, I'll give you one. I believe that opera, especially attending a live performance on stage, is one of the experiences a person should have before they go to meet their maker. I don't think there's any other art form which is able to express such a wide range of emotions with as much depth and power. When you heard opera for the first time, didn't you think the singer was expressing some emotion very deeply? Didn't you think the singer was in some sort of frenzy such that you may have asked yourself whether they were actually singing when it sounded more like screaming or even shrieking and or delirium? It's so powerful you could feel it even if you didn't necessarily understand the words they're singing. That's the high level of emotion opera has. In fact, it's so high, some people are uncomfortable with it. To some people, opera's an emotional overload. Nevertheless, I still recommend that everybody should attend a live opera performance on stage at least once in their lifetime. These increasingly uncertain times we live in are highly likely to send us into downward spirals of apathy, and the feverish activity of modern living numbs our minds. We all need something as overwhelmingly emotional as opera to remind ourselves that we are still capable of feeling and imagining despite all that. I'm aware that opera's overwhelming emotion might have been lost on some of you in the past because you hadn't known what to make of it. There might be some opera books that do tell you the emotions the operatic masterpieces convey, but they still leave you to figure out on your own how their music achieves that. Now, with these tours into the operatic world that I've developed, I not only will point out to you the emotions each operatic masterpiece can inspire, but I will also try to explain how its music is able to generate such feelings and show you why these feelings can give an enjoyable experience through the sensations they arouse. If you already have some experience in opera, treat these tours as something which will enhance the fulfillment you derive from it by presenting new ways of listening and directing your attention to areas which might have eluded you earlier. Right after this, I'll be commencing the first tour, the mini-series on the first of the 9 elements of opera, comedy, where I'll be taking you through the world of comedy in opera. Just like the movies, not every operatic masterpiece will move you, but I strongly believe that there will be at least one among the hundreds that will. Please grant me the honor of helping you find that one through these tours. I thus close this introduction with a warm invitation to join me on them. If you had fun watching this video, please help me like it. If you'd like to continue chasing this series, please subscribe to my channel. If you wish to express your views about it or discuss it further, please feel free to leave a comment. Thank you and stay tuned.